Tokyo Disney Resort just dropped a huge update as to what we can expect from Tokyo Disneyland and Tokyo DisneySea in 2025, and I hate to say it, but they have upset a lot of people. I've been living in Tokyo since before the pandemic, but I've never seen the local fan base as upset with OLC, the owners and operators of Tokyo Disney, as much as they are right now. I'm Jordan at 8-Bit Theme Park Japan, and in this video we'll get into everything that's planned for 2025, why the local guests are so upset, and whether or not you should visit the parks in the coming year, or if you should wait a little bit longer. Firstly, if you do have a trip planned soon, or you just like to learn more and stay updated about this one-of-a-kind Disney resort, then please do subscribe to the channel. Things have been a little busy lately, so I'm not quite doing the weekly videos anymore, but I do release regular videos, all about Tokyo Disney Resort. So what's going on? Why are people upset? Isn't Tokyo Disney supposed to be the one that gets everything right? Well, not if you listen to the locals. They've been complaining for years now, ever since the pandemic, about the cutting of seasonal entertainment and entertainment in general. We have empty theaters at DisneySea. The seasonal events are an absolute shadow of their past selves. And you may be thinking, well, you know, the seasonal events are nice, but it's not that important. To the guests here, it really, really is. I cannot overstate how important the seasonal events, the parades, the shows in the harbor are to the fan base here. Guests will arrive at the parks 4 hours before they open just to get a good spot for the parade that runs once a day. And since COVID, these budgets got slashed, perhaps understandably, but a lot of people were hoping that after Fantasy Springs, the enormous new expansion to DisneySea that went way over budget had finally opened, maybe we could finally start putting some money into the entertainment budget again. But this rundown of the events of 2025 would suggest otherwise. So let's start at the start, because we had some information released a few weeks ago about the schedule from January through March, and it didn't seem particularly exciting, but this time of year never really is. It's a very low season, which does make it a great time to visit if you don't mind the cold. But you know, the event schedule's never anything overly impressive around this time. Before I get into the event from January through March of 2025, I do have to give a tiny bit of background onto what happened in 2024. So we began a new event called Disney Palpalooza, which is like a series of events, and each event is based on a different character. It's quite a fun premise. The first version had Minnie, the second one was all around Donald Duck. We'll get to that later, that's going to be important, remember that. And then there was a lot of mystery around who the third one is going to be. People were guessing Goofy or Pluto or Chippendale because it kind of set this precedent of it being kind of Mickey and Friends or the main Disney characters, you know? So they surprised a lot of people when they announced that Vanellope's Sweet Pop World would be the third installment in this Palpalooza series, coming to Tokyo Disneyland from January 15th to March 16th, 2025. I've just noticed there's a typo in the press release. But yeah, while this did surprise some people, it seemed pretty cool. It's pretty fresh, it's something new, it was very unexpected, and filling the park with pastel-colored sweet things, it should be quite nice. Again, this is a very small event, it's not anything particularly exciting, it's mostly food and merch, and then there's a once-a-day parade that runs round. Last year at the Donald event, they sold the greatest piece of merchandise ever made, which anyone who listens to my weekly podcast, The Land of the Rising Film Podcast, will know, is the Gua Gua stick. This is a stick that you shake, and it makes a gua gua or quack quack sound like a duck. And it's the greatest thing ever made. I was just walking around the park, guaring at anyone else who had a Gua Gua stick, and they would happily gua back. It was a lot of fun, and clearly the parks have enjoyed having this cheap piece of merchandise that's like the thing that you have to buy when you're there, because now this year we're going to have a sweet poppin' stick, which, I mean, you can't compete. You can't compete with the Gua Gua. How do you build on perfection? You know, you've already done it. But hey, it's something new. I'll probably buy one because I'm an idiot. There's no confirmation if these make a sound or what sound they may make, so we'll see. I will be sure to keep you updated on this very important information. But yeah, pretty minimal decorations around the hub and around the entrance of the park. Once a day. I really wish we'd do things twice a day because everyone goes insane for these once a day parades. But yeah, still once a day parade, around 35 minutes with Vanellope von Schweetz from Wreck-It Ralph, Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, Donald Duck, Daisy Duck, Goofy, Cinderella, Rapunzel, Belle, Alice, Mad Hatter, Winnie the Pooh, and more. So it'll be a cute little fun parade. It's probably worth pointing out that this doesn't replace the normal daytime parade, Harmony and Color, which for anyone who's visiting for the first time, that parade's going to be much more impressive than this one. But again, the local fans just go crazy for anything that's seasonal or new. I am quite excited about the premise, though. It says the parade will kick off with Vanellope on a float inspired by a candy castle. On another float resembling a live stage in the shape of a fruit tart, Mickey and his rock band appear using candy instruments. So I'm going to be front row for that. That sounds pretty cool. There's food and merch, which I won't get into too much here. You can see it on the screen now. And that's that. No one was upset by this. No one's particularly blown away by it either, but it's a continuation of the Palpalooza thing. It'll be sweet, it'll be fun, it'll be popular with the super fans, but again, this is a quiet time of year, so it's not a bad time to come. Next door at DisneySea, which is the park that was always the one that had the really stellar entertainment and was kind of defined by its entertainment, seasonal and otherwise, again, doesn't have anything. They're changing the Mexican restaurant into a Duffy-themed restaurant, and they're adding new Duffy merch, and you're going to be able to meet Lena Bell for a month for the first time ever at Tokyo Disney, and Cookie Ann from February through March, again for the first time ever. So they really know how to do the absolute minimum to still attract the super fans. These meet and greets are going to be absolutely crazy. They're going to have enormous queues most days. If you do happen to be here around these times, you're going to want to avoid the beginning and end of these periods because the parks will probably be pretty busy just with super fans trying to meet the characters. I don't really have an idea, but if I were to guess, I would assume that the queues are going to be anywhere between an hour and like 3 or 4 hours to meet these characters, so don't expect to just be able to stroll in and see them. They'll probably even implement some kind of standby pass system or something because it's going to get really crazy with those. But yeah, that's January through March. Nothing amazing, but nothing particularly offensive either. Oh, it is worth pointing out as well that we do have Groot coming to It's a Small World. Yes, they're putting Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy into It's a Small World. It's very confusing. I did a whole video all about it, but that's happening. And that will start from January as well, but that will go all the way through to June, so a bigger window there. It does make me think, why didn't they make the Palpalooza event based around Groot? Like, why not make a big event of, like, this is the first time Marvel characters are in a Tokyo Disney ride and make the whole thing coherent, you know? Instead, we're going to have Vanellope without Ralph doing a candy-based event while Groot goes into It's a Small World. I don't know. Maybe they're hedging their bets in case the fans aren't really into the Marvel stuff. Clearly, they've chosen Vanellope because they know that the Wreck-It Ralph movies aren't enormously popular in Japan, and they're building a Wreck-It Ralph ride that's going to open in 2028, so maybe they want to introduce those characters to the guests more, but seems a little bit premature for that. Everyone's going to have forgotten in 3 years. Unless we get this Vanellope event every year for the next 3 years, which I wouldn't push past them because, again, the thing that made this Palpalooza event so fun and interesting was the sort of mystery aspect. Ooh, which character's going to be next? And when they went from Minnie to Donald to Vanellope, it was like, ooh, so they can be anyone. The next character could be anyone. That's really exciting. And who's it going to be? Oh, it's Donald. Oh, it's Donald again? It's Donald again? But don't get it mistaken. It's not the same Donald Duck event as last year, everybody, because last year we had Donald's Quacky Duck City, and this year we're having Donald's Quacky Duck City. Yeah. Just in case Disney Palpalooza Donald's Quacky Duck City wasn't long enough, they had to put an extra couple of ducks in there. So why have they changed the name? What's going on? Well, from April through to June of 2025, we're going to get basically the same event as last year, but some notable differences are that it says he is back with an enhanced version of his Dream City. Guests can look forward to an exciting and fun-filled experience with the park transforming into a city where Donald is the ultimate superstar. So what I'm hoping is, last year it was very much decorations in the hub and at the entrance, which was super cute and I really, really liked. But I've really missed, ever since COVID, none of the events are park-wide. We don't decorate the whole park anymore. So I'm hoping that the wording here would suggest that we are going to decorate the whole park, maybe? I hope. Would be really cool to get, like, hidden Donalds everywhere. clearly the best part of this event coming back means we can reuse the Guagua sticks. Are we going to get new Guagua sticks? Are we going to get different designs? Are we going to get merch based on the Guagua sticks? The Guagua stick aspect of this is very, very exciting. But I'm sure you can understand why local fans were quite disappointed after speculating for so long. Ooh, who's the next character going to be? Oh, it's Donald again. You know, it sort of takes the wind out of your sails a bit. At the same time of this, it was also announced that Star Tours will be adding new characters and a new planet. Presumably, this is the new sequence that was added to the rides in Paris and in the American parks of like a year ago or something. We can be a little slow to these things, so I'm guessing that's what's happening there. It says after April 8th from June to 30th, the new sequence will be incorporated into the existing one where it's all randomized. And if you don't know about that, go and check it out. Okay, so they clearly saved some money on the entertainment budget at Disneyland because they're not really doing anything new. They're just slightly enhancing last year's event. So maybe we're finally getting something cool at DisneySea? Nope. From April, we're going to have Duffy and Friends 20th Colorful Happiness, which is going to be a few decorations and some merchandise and food items and things. It does also say character greetings, so maybe Lena Bell comes back, or maybe we get Olumel greeting, which I don't think we've had here before. I don't know, but notably, there's no harbor greeting involved with that. In 2023, we had a Duffy and Friends boat that went around the harbor with a cute little song, and you could see all the characters, but nope, not doing that for the 20th anniversary of Duffy and Friends, the most popular Disney characters in the whole of Japan, maybe in the whole of Asia. Like, nope. Running concurrently with this is another event that was pretty lackluster from 2024, Tokyo DisneySea Food and Wine Festival, which is a real shame because you hear that name and you're like, wow, going around this gorgeous theme park with all these really different areas, trying different food and wine based on the areas that they're in, that sounds pretty cool, right? Well, that's what I thought this year, but then it was just a couple of food trucks in front of Tower of Terror in the American waterfront New York area of the park. Everything else was just some slightly changed menus, but the menus change pretty regularly anyway, so it's a bit of a stretch to say that it's an event to when the food just changes, because the food changes anyway. It just happens to have DisneySea Food and Wine Festival packaging around this time of year. Hopefully they expand this a bit as well, but I'm not holding my breath on that. Going through to summer, from July through to September, the summer programs seem to be a copy and paste of this year and last year and the year before that. And the year before that, we're getting the Baymax Mission Cool Down event, which is a 2-float parade with no performers that sprays water at everyone. Admittedly, it is quite a lot of fun, and they keep having to cancel outside entertainment in the summer because it's too hot. So having something that doesn't get cancelled because there are no performers is quite a nice thing. There's also Get Soaked Toontown, where they put a water fountain in Toontown that you can play in. And then Splash Mountain actually has a splash for 2 months, and in DisneySea, their whole summer event is that Aquatopia has water spray that sprays you while you ride it. I remember when I first came to these parks in the summer, DisneySea had an enormous Pirates of the Caribbean event where Jack Sparrow would battle Barbossa and there'd be fire effects and there's loads of pirates dancing around and chucking water barrels everywhere. It was really, really fun. Over at Disneyland, they had huge events where they had like 2 different shows in front of the castle where they'd throw water all over you, and oh, it was so much fun. So it's sad to see how far we've fallen, you know, and it's sad again that there are no steps being taken to make things any better. Probably jumping the gun a little bit, but this is why guests here are so disappointed, you know. It's like, oh, we thought this year would be the year that things finally improve, but no, it's just more of the same. And that sentiment continues through to Halloween. They're going to have the same Halloween parade that debuted this year at Disneyland. And at DisneySea, we're going to have the same boat with a pumpkin on it going around the harbor. I have to say, these harbor greeting shows at DisneySea are just not even worth watching. It's a 10-minute show where one boat circles around the harbor with Mickey and friends on it, and then you say goodbye. Same again at DisneySea at Christmas. One boat with Santa and Mickey and some friends on it that just goes around for 10 minutes that we've seen far too many times before. Over at Disneyland, they will have a new Christmas parade, which is cool because the one that's running right now, Christmas Stories, has been here for 9 years at this point, so getting a bit of fresh Christmas stuff will be nice. Unfortunately, what that really means is that That whole period will be absolute hell, and guests will arrive at the park at like 5 or 6 a.m., run to the parade route, sit on the parade route all day waiting for 3 p.m. when the parade starts, clogging up the entire park, making everything busy and miserable for everyone. And then topping off this document, we do get a tiny little taste of 2026, where they're going to do the 2-week-long New Year's event, which this is the one thing that, like, we used to do this before COVID. We just had a tiny little event where they do a very small parade at Disneyland and a very small, again, the one boat going around DisneySea. But because the event is so short and it's such a, like, micro event, it's actually quite a sweet little thing. I don't have a problem with that. Okay, so unfortunately I haven't scared everyone off, and I don't have you, like, scrambling to cancel your trip that you already have booked for this year. Let me be clear. For local fans, the most important thing at these parks, for the vast majority of them, is the seasonal events and the entertainment. That has gone so far downhill since COVID, and it's such a middle finger to those guests. OLC, the company that own and operate the parks, know what their guests want, and they're intentionally not giving it to them. You might ask, why would they do that? Well, it seems to be an approach which we've seen at other Disney parks around the world recently, of valuing guests visiting from abroad and guests visiting from further away over the local guests. And guests visiting from further away don't really care about these small seasonal events. Yes, it's nice if the Christmas event's good, you know, it's nice if there's some nice decorations for Halloween. But ultimately, these people who are coming to visit the parks for the first time ever, or maybe even the second or third or fourth time, they want to see these amazing places, go on the amazing rides, have some cute food, see some of the normal entertainment. And that's all still there. If you've got a trip planned for 2025 and you're thinking, oh my goodness, this person who loves the parks enough to have moved to Japan just to be near the parks has spent the last 15 minutes complaining about the whole year. I'm not. I'm complaining about the year's seasonal events, and I'm giving a perspective as to why the local fans are so upset about it. Now, I will say, if you're very patient or if you have a broad time frame as to when you can come, Tokyo Disneyland, even if you're just going for the rides, is going to be a bit of a mess for the next couple of years. Space Mountain just closed to get completely flattened, and a brand new roller coaster, also called Space Mountain, getting built behind it, which is scheduled to open in 2027. Buzz Lightyear right next to it is also going to be completely changed into a Wreck-It Ralph ride, like I mentioned earlier. This means a huge part of the park is shut down. 2 very popular high-capacity rides are gone, which means if any other big rides are closed for scheduled maintenance, you're going to expect some big queues at Tokyo Disneyland for the next couple of years. Even bigger than usual. So that's the one thing that if you're not bothered about the seasonal entertainment, that might still be a reason to not visit in 2025. But if you're visiting from abroad for a once-in-a-lifetime or twice-in-a-lifetime trip, you're gonna have an amazing time. DisneySea is still absolutely breathtaking. Disneyland is gorgeous. The park's maintenance is still top-notch, so all of the rides work flawlessly every single time. I would try to avoid Christmas if it's an option, because, again, new parade plus crazy crowds equals quite an unpleasant time. But other than that, if you're visiting in 2025, you're going to have an amazing 2025. Because, hey, even if you've been before, there's probably a very good chance that you haven't been to Fantasy Springs yet. And if you want to see my personal favorite part of Fantasy Springs, and something that I think is overlooked by a lot of people, check out this video next.